Happy Monday, and welcome to the December 9th Message Center announcements for the last month and a half or so. As you know, this is something where we go through, there's so many different announcements that come through Message Center and Microsoft 365. In general, we try to whittle out and weed out a lot of those ones that may, just a lot in there. So try to whittle that out a little bit just so you guys can get the big important ones. And hang on, I'm hearing somebody. Make sure, oh, I think I see somebody. There we go. We're going to mute them just so that doesn't distract too much more. All right, perfect. All right, so let's get started. So the first couple ones are Viva Insights or Viva ones that I want to make sure that I am keeping you guys up to date. Again, if you don't have Viva, understand, don't worry about it. But Viva Pulse experience, that's going to be included within your M365 Copilot subscription as well. And so if you're not familiar with Pulse, this is the opportunity for you to be able to really get a survey out to your employees, right, to the people in your organization, and make sure that they understand, what's going on. And you get feedback, right? That's the important thing, feedback from these people. So you can users with Viva Pulse or the Copilot license and have access to MS Forms. They would have access to be able to do this. They can send, this is leadership, right? Sending out those Pulse requests out to the tenant, to different groups if you choose to do it that way. And the recipients don't need to have a license. It's really the person that's sending it needs to have that license. So make sure that you keep that in mind. So this is happening here worldwide now, starting now, going into mid-December. Again, also on the Viva side of things, there are some updates to the admin experience. And this is happening in two different areas. There's this Viva landing page that's happening here early December to late December. And then there is the user interface for feature access management, right? So that's that part where in the past, you've actually had to use PowerShell to be able to adjust access management. That's going to be happening now in the GUI, right, in that console in late January to early February. So just a couple of things to keep in mind on with that. Make sure you let your users know, and especially your administrators, know what's going on with that. All right, give me a second. All right. Let's jump away from Viva for a second. Let's go into your mobile apps, specifically your Microsoft Outlook, iOS, and Android app. The one thing I want you to know about this change, and this is kind of nice, especially if you're just doing everything from that mobile app and you want to be able to maybe grab information from another email, right? Grab that and attach that in your mobile app. This is coming here early January to late February, where you're going to be able to do an attachment, and it's not just going to be your photos, right? It's going to be in an email that you can then go back and find that email, attach it to that one you're in, and then send it off from there. Again, this is coming out to the iOS and Android platforms. No administrative actions are needed in this particular place, but make sure you let your end users know that this is coming shortly. Additionally, with that, iOS, Outlook, iOS and Android is getting the capability to minimize a compose window so that you can multitask on the Outlook app, right? So if you're starting a draft and you're like, oh, I need to go find something in another email, this gives you that ability to minimize that. And by the way, I was testing this out. You got to find it. You literally have to be in the draft, and you'll see this bar on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side. You click on that, that takes it down, and it's a draft inside that thread that you have to go back down to after you find your information. You can go out, grab that information, then come back into the message. It's also in your drafts folder, but it just makes it a little easier because it's in the context of the email thread. So that change is happening early January through early February, worldwide, GCC, GCCH as well. All right, Purview and data loss prevention. An update coming out to have more actionable email notifications for when an incident happens, right? So things that just exposing it more to the end user if there happens to be an issue that they need to do, right? So if it's flagged with an issue, that end user gets that email and that end user gets that notification, they'll have more options to be able to deal with that, right? So examples that they gave in the message center post, stop sharing file, delete file, apply sensitivity label, remove sensitivity label, override the policy. There's a lot of things that you can do from that side of things. And it actually goes into some pretty detailed information in that message center post, specifically about when that's going to be happening or what they're happening. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, Teams, we're getting an added feature to be able to forward messages to another channel. Right, this is coming here, targeted release in January, worldwide late January into February, but really the ability to take that message or that information that you have in one channel that you have, right, or from a, you're forwarding from a post or even a reply type scenario, and in there you can actually say, I want to send this information into another channel as well. And things like you can control sensitivity labels, you control where you want to be able to send that, but giving that ability to be able to send that information is kind of going to be important at that point. All right, so again, that's happening here shortly. And yeah, Wes, we'll get to that one, which is a big deal as well, and it's our thing for you guys to keep in mind. Teams, still in Teams, right? Record a video and share in a channel, right? So you have Clipchamp as an option. Now we're talking about being able to do these very quick videos if you want to, right in those channels themselves. Coming here, targeted early January to mid-January, worldwide, the latter part of January. You'll be able to go into that Teams channel and be able to record right into that Teams chat. You can do a new post or you can do a reply to somebody else if you wanted to. Those videos are going to be then stored in the respective SharePoint sites associated to that particular team in that folder. This is going to be specifically for Windows desktop version of Teams, Mac, or even web, so all three versions of it. Just make sure, as this is getting rolled out in your organization, make sure you're letting people know about this, because this is a big deal. I mean, I know people just love to be able to have that video and give that kind of a reply if needed, or maybe it's a leader to a team, right? Those types of things. It's a great way to be able to get that information out. All right, another interesting feature coming out here in January, and we're not sure when it's actually going to come out, but if you're in targeted, you get to play with this a little bit. Resize your Teams windows, right? We're talking about the ability to be able to resize information, and for some reason, my GIFs are not moving in here. Oh, well, that's not good. But it has the ability to be able to resize the window itself or windows that you have open to make them expand a little bit more, give it a little bit more detail. They do right now they're at 720 pixels, but you'll be able to go from 360 or even smaller if you need to. And it will adjust the flow size. It will adjust everything in there. Think about this from an accessibility perspective. You can do much more with multitasking, especially if you have multiple windows open on a screen. You can change zoom. All those pieces are going to be a part of it, but this is going to be just for Windows and Mac, not for web versions of Teams client. Again, on the Teams side, the ability to, especially as we're doing more and more with, we're going to start the Copilot thing here. We're going to start more and more with Copilot agents being deployed and available, and maybe in just apps. The ability to be able to share apps, this feature set is going to be kind of focusing on that. So targeted mid-December to January, worldwide early January to late January, and basically being able to share these apps and Copilot agents in Teams chats and channels across the board a little bit easier, right? So what you're going to see is when you have access to it, you can actually share that chat, that agent or app, either by right-clicking on it or clicking in the more options, those types of things. So keep in mind, this is coming. This is something that you want to make sure that you let your users know if that's something that you really want to have available to them. But dive into that just a little bit more to see how that feature set's going to work. We are getting some more abilities in the Teams Admin Center. This is coming out in a variety of different timelines, depending upon if you're commercial versus GCC, GCCH, or DoD. But this ability to be able to manage external users, right? That external access policy right within the Teams admin center. Previously, you only could do this within PowerShell, but now they're bringing that in to the tax area so that you can actually manage that external policy for a bunch of users if that's the case. Just notify your admins, let them know that this is coming, and that change is going to be a big one, especially if they were doing anything from a PowerShell perspective. All right, some quick mentions I do want to say. One of them, especially if you have any, if your organization is using any Teams phone related, there's some changes in the PowerShell side of things, right? So this one will literally talk a little bit about that Teams PowerShell module updates, getting rid of a couple of commandlets and then going and use, instead of using get CS dial plan or get CS online user or get CS user policy assignment, focusing on get CS effective dial plan or tenant dial plan is going to be where you want to go in that. So if you have any PowerShell that's out there, just understand those are going to be deprecated here early January to mid-January. Some changes in the BYOD rooms and peripherals. This is part of the Teams Pro license. If you guys have that, the Teams Room Pro license, and if you're doing anything from a adding new peripherals into those rooms, I've got to automatically inventory that in the Pro portal. So that change is happening here worldwide late January to early February, which is going to be great for organizations that have a lot of rooms and devices in those. I did find this one interesting. Customize the location of your notification. So as you guys know, if you have notifications enabled, like I have on mine, I'm going to get them in the bottom right. Well, with this change, you're going to be able to say where I want those notifications to pop up. Bottom right, bottom left, top right, right? So you can then decide where is that going to be less obtrusive, right? As far as how you work and how you do things. I find many times, especially if I'm in a meeting, that goes over my chat. Like right now, I'm looking at my chat in this window, and that's going over my chat. So as new ones pop up, I may not want that there. I may want it on the top left-hand corner so it's not distracting me in the middle of a meeting. There's some extensibility happening for PSTN calls. So developers, if you guys want to have a pop-up, say for instance, the call comes in and you want to pop up and bring your CRM specifically in the context of that window, then you will be able to do that coming here with some of the extensibility features. And that's going to be happening mid-February to late February. If you haven't seen about this, the new calendar experience is coming to Teams. That is big because it's really taking that new Outlook calendar that you have. You have this ability then to bring that over into Teams. And that new Outlook feel is going to be embedded right in your Microsoft Teams calendar. So that is coming, and it's a toggle, right? So you can turn it on, you can turn it off at this point. They haven't said anything about it making it permanent at this point. And that's going to be mid-January to late January. I know here internally in Microsoft, it's already there. We've been testing it a little bit, and I kind of like it. And then sometimes I'm like, no, I don't like it. So still on the fence a lot for me, but eventually I know that's going to probably end up being permanent. Image input support for Copilot, and that's for Microsoft 365 Copilot and regular Microsoft Copilot. The ability to just use an image, upload it, and then being able to have Copilot interpret that image and what's going on in that. And that's happening here late December to mid-January. And then there's some new user license requests. I only threw this one in only just so you know that you might want to look into this one because it allows the end user to be able to request a Copilot license. And I think we've seen this in the past where Microsoft, we go down that route of, hey, let's see how many people we can get to use these licenses and if they need it or not. Again, you may not have any surplus, so licenses to give. So this is an opportunity for you to, obviously as an admin, you can reject that or not. But make sure you check into that request that's happening here shortly. Notice some of the updates. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I do know there's a couple ones that have changed. In fact, a couple of these have changed From the last time we had a meeting, it was supposed to be November when it's going to go out. Now it's going to be January when it goes out. So keep that in mind. That's that retention labels are available for loop pages. That was November when it's supposed to go. Now it's going to be December to late January. But keep these changes in mind from that. And then finally, the admin actions, as we were mentioning, Wes mentioned in here that Viva Goals is retiring as of next December 31st, and they're going to stop all feature development as of this last December 5th. So no new things are going in the goals. So if you're utilizing goals right now, understand you got until December 31st to get that removed. Again, we still don't know about Teams Live Event. We don't know when that's going to be deprecated completely. I think we're still in the process of seeing that a lot of those features that are in Teams Live Event are brought into Town Hall or Webinar first before they decide they're going to deprecate that service. And then if you're still hanging on to Delve, understand that's happening here December 16th, fairly shortly. Talked about Viva Engage, some changes here. And of course, last but not least, yes, Wes, let's have people not use InfoPath anymore. But guess what? There are still a lot of companies with InfoPath out there. Right, Tom? I think we were talking about that at one time. So with that, I think that's everything, Michelle.